Hello, everybody. Welcome back. And I am bringing you here the second installment in the visual aids to awakening and clearing. So this one is, so if you hadn't seen the first video, go check it out. But this one is independent. All of them will be independent, but taken as a whole, they'll be even better. So I am not much of a mathematician, but I work with mathematicians and I work with professors and all this kind of stuff. And so they're a lot smarter than I am. I just know one thing that they don't know, which is I understand the math of one, which they don't. You know, the math of one states very simply, 1 equals 1. So keep the math of one in your mind as we go along, because if there's one and only one, then there's no one cutting this video and no one watching it other than the one. Okay, so that's a freebie for today. Here's what I want to bring up. This is just a scratchy little note. They all, lots of them are, but you know, it'll work. So there's something in math called an asymptote. And I am going to explain this to you, and I'll show it to you again. An asymptote is something like this line. Here's the line of enlightenment. Here's the seeking line. And this thing, the seeking line, you get closer as you begin to understand concepts, as you begin maybe have a pop or two, you get closer or closer and closer and closer. And you know you're making progress. You know you can't be that far away. The only problem is that you can die still thinking, well, I'm just not that far away. I'm going to get it soon, right? But nobody ever got this thing soon. You get it now. But that doesn't stop us from trying to get it soon, from trying to get it what we would think of as now, only we're not. We have the story of future about when we're going to wake up, which does not include now. Because right now, I'm not ready. Right now, you got to be kidding me. You know, I don't think I hadn't read that book yet. I hadn't gone to see that teacher yet. I haven't listened to this teacher. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. It's all about what I haven't done, what I haven't prepared for, what I don't understand, what I can't grasp, and blah, 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 blah. And every time you think one of these thoughts and believe it, then you're creating a new story of future as to why you cannot wake up. And all of these stories are utter bullshit, just so you understand that, okay? None of them's true. You over there right now, I don't care who you are, where you are, you're watching this video, and that tells me, even if you weren't, it would be true, but here it's especially true, is you have you know everything you need to know to wake up. Because this isn't about knowing. As you could say that this is the path of knowing, of quote, understanding in non-duality, which I just have to tell you, I don't understand it. I don't understand what the hell I'm talking about, but I do, you know, from a human standpoint, because this is outside of the range of thought. But we can use our brains to see that what this is an endless path. An asymptote is something that gets closer and closer and closer to a point which actually there isn't a point. There's just a line. There's no point over here. You get closer and closer and closer and closer, but you never get there because there is no place there that you can hit with knowledge or you know, practice. Practice is very, very helpful, help you clear up. And I'm not against practices, but I can tell you they're not absolutely necessary. And I did a bunch of them, and you know, they felt like they were really helping or whatever, until some point I actually just kind of threw in the towel on meditation and everything, and just went to Nondual Inquiry, and here I am. So Nondual Inquiry is not the means of an asymptote. With non-dual inquiry, there's still no end, but the good news is that with end or not, these lines will cross. These lines will cross, and awakening will most likely occur. I say, well, most likely will occur. really, if you just stick with it and do it skillfully. And I've got videos on how to do it skillfully. Maybe I'll do one in this series too. But at any rate, non-dual inquiry is the way you want to go. And you will not be on the path of an, what would that be? An asymptotic path. I don't know what the word would be, but you're not on the path of chasing an asymptote, which you can never catch, because that's where you are when you're seeking. When you're looking for this thing, when you're seeking for this thing, give it up. Just try to give it up, because it's going to take you nowhere. It didn't me. I mean, you know, it kind of did. It just took me 24 years. So if you've got a spare 24 years, go ahead and seek. But I have worked with people who've been seeking for 40 or 50 years, or even longer, and their practices and their you know, whatever else little rituals they're doing or practices or whatever, it hadn't brought them anything. And then they talked to me for about an hour, and whoop. So there's something that you're not doing. There's something that you don't know that I do, but I can't tell you. I have to show you. That's the key. I can tell you the secret, but it won't make any difference. I've told you the secret 1,000 times in these videos, but you can't get it. But maybe you'll get this. The reason you can't get it is because everything works backwards in spirituality. It does not work the way you think it does. Like, for instance, if we look at this, you've got a choice here. You can look at this either as the black faces, that's what this picture is about, or you can, with a white background, or you can see this as a white goblet with a black background. See, it is, and each one is true. So it's not that this is true, that the black faces are true, and that this is not true. It's the fact that in this instance, they're both true. Now, your difference is that what you're going back and forth with, if you're thinking that you're going to find the answer to this in relativity, in some sort of, like there's something to get or someone to talk to or something to read that's going to give you this, that would be picking one side. It doesn't matter which side, but you have picked one of these sides and you're looking for the answer, but all you're looking is from side to side to side to side. You're completely overlooking this, and you're overlooking the truth. So the way to get oriented is to understand that for years and years, I have called this the backward teaching. And the reason I call this the backward teaching is because it's backward. Because in way back in 20, must have been 2000, I don't know. Well, actually, this thing started prior to my even waking up. The living method did, but I didn't recognize it. I didn't really recognize it really until about 2012. 2010. I began to understand this as something to do, but I didn't even know what I was doing. I just knew that starting in 2010, people started waking up around me. And it wasn't spontaneously that they got near this body and poof, they woke up. You know, here's tales of that now, but but I didn't experience that then. So they, sorry, there we go to the brain fog again. You know, oops, I'm old and I had surgery, and that's amnesiatic brain fog. So we are approaching this thing backwards. So we have to really look. Okay, what are we doing? We're looking here. We're looking, and then just look at the room for a minute. And when you look at the room, I want you to look at all the objects in the room. So let's look at all the objects in the room. Now, you can actually wake up from this right now. This could happen to you. So pay attention. We're looking at all the objects in the room. Okay. You got that fixed in your head? We're looking at all the objects in the room. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to use a backwards type of vision, if you will. I want to look around the same room in the same way, only I want you to notice the space between and under and behind and above each object instead of the object itself. Look, notice the space, okay? So notice the space instead of the object, and let's just see. Now that will immediately begin, it's confusing to the mind because it's not used to looking at this, because this isn't the way your mind works. But we're not going to be able to open, we're not going to be able, the mind can't free the mind is what I'm trying to say. So this, what we're doing here is actually going to be beyond the mind. What we are doing here right now is already beyond the mind, because we're looking at space, and that is not the mind's way, but it's your way right now. And I say your with a capital Y, because this is awakeness talking to awakeness, and look at the space in between everything. Now, what I want you to do is close your eyes, and I want you to imagine right now that all of the space that you're looking at, all of this space were to turn into soup. Forget the objects, just go for the space. If all of the space were to turn into soup right now, how many soups would you have? Well, if all the spaces are turning into a soup, then we got one soup, don't we? Okay, you can open your minds now. Open your eyes now. We got one soup. Now, what I want you to do is close your eyes again, and I want you to notice in your mentally, I want you to see all of the objects that you looked at before. I want you to see them floating in the soup. The objects are floating in the soup. This is not, now, what I'm telling you right now, this is spontaneous as I'm cutting this video. I didn't use quite, I've never used quite this technique before, but it's very good. I can tell you that and very clear. So I want you to think about the objects floating in the soup. So the objects, if we now open our eyes, we can see that there are objects. Now, where's the soup? That's the space. So is the space inside the objects, or are the objects inside the space? Now, we've been told since time immemorial that we're supposed to what? That we're supposed to look for that which does not come and go. Every object here comes and goes. You will experience it, and then you won't. Now, you may go, you're one of the objects in the room. This is what we can't get our minds around. Is if you look at all the objects in the room, this is one too. It's just another object. This is not you. You are what? You are the one soup. You are the spaciousness. You are the awake, aware spaciousness. And there's two kinds of spaciousness. You can have like unconscious awareness, or you can have conscious awareness. This is the difference between awakening and being awake and not being awake, is that when you're unconscious, when you're identifying as, or you're just are unconscious awakeness. In other words, you don't know who you are. You don't know who or what you are. I don't know what I am. I just know, you know, or I could say I know what I am, but I don't know who, but it's not really true. I know kind of sort of who, but I don't know what that is. And this is awakeness, just telling the truth to awakeness. This is not Fred talking to a student. So there is, what you are is that which does not come and go. And in this picture, all of these objects are coming and they're going. There's not anything in this room that is eternal. The house is not eternal. The desk is not eternal. The computer sure as hell is not eternal. So there's nothing eternal here except for one thing. And what is that? That's the space. And what have we seen that space actually is? It's the one soup. And all of the content of the soup, this content of the soup is actually the ingredients, we could say. Not really, because there are no ingredients, but for this video and this methodology right now, we're going to say that there's the one soup and then there are the appearances, because that's the truth, is there's one soup and then there are appearances. And what you do, you, awakeness, I'm using you with a capital Y now, and I is, this is awakeness too. This is conscious awakeness right now, and I'm either talking now to conscious awakeness or unconscious awakeness. Have you noticed that you are actually this, that this comes and goes, but something doesn't? What is it? Like what you can do is you can focus on your attention. Focus on your attention. Feels like your attention, but you don't have attention. Attention's gotten you. Attention is the secret to awakening. It's paying attention to attention. All right. So I've shown enough, and I've talked enough, and we're going to call this one a wrap. Thank you. Continue to watch this series. It's going to help, I guarantee it. And I will see you next time. I love you, and bye for now.